My hands are tied together and I'm about to do 4 drawings in 4 different time limits. 1 hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, and 5 minutes, starting. Okay, yeah, I gotta take this down. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna explain some rules, which are A, my hands have to be tied together, B, I have to complete the drawings in the set time limits, and C, I have to use both hands to hold the pencil. Okay, now I can do the 5-minute drawing, which is gonna be Yami, one of my original characters. He's a good character to start off with, but that still doesn't mean that it turned out great. I mean, I expected it to look like a toddler drawing, but I didn't expect it to turn out as bad as it did. I mean, the sketch was already bad enough, but it just got worse with coloring. But I think it'll turn out a little bit better with the 10-minute drawing, Finn the Human. I also learned from my mistakes and added this marker holder over here so that I could easily grab the Posca markers. I spent a lot of time on the last drawing reaching over and finding the correct colors. Thankfully, I'm able to take my time on this drawing because I have double the time. I can now move on to coloring, which I have a ton of time to do. I also saved like a whole minute by using this bigger Posca marker to fill in his shirt, but I still had to go back with the normal Posca marker to fill in spots that I missed. I was also able to do the same thing with the pants, which definitely took off a lot of time again. I can now move on to lining, which is the scary part and where I don't want to mess up, but I also had to rush a little bit because I barely had any time left. To finish it off, I just added my signature and fixed any lines that I messed up. And I'm finally done. But now I have to do the 30-minute drawing, which is going to be Bart Simpson, and I'm expecting him to turn out really good because I have a ton of time to do him. And to start it off, I'm just going to do some basic shapes, and then I'll add all the smaller details like the spikes on his head later. With this drawing, you can definitely tell I was taking my time because a lot of the lines are really smooth. Once I got the basic shape down, I moved on to the spikes on his head. Now that I have the rough sketch down, I'm going to use this kneaded eraser to lighten up the sketch, and then I'm going to go back over it in a darker pencil. And I would recommend doing this with any cartoon drawing because it makes it look 10 times better. Also, if you're enjoying this video and you've made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. Okay, now that I'm done with the sketch, which looks pretty good, I can move on to coloring. Which again, now that I have more time, it's gonna look a lot better. After I finished coloring him in, I realized I had a ton of time left, so I used it to add the rest of his body. But once I got to lining, I realized that it was a bad idea because I barely had any time to do it. And just to make it look a little bit better, I added shadows, which I think was definitely a good idea. And once I did that, I finally moved on to lining, which sadly I had to rush, because I used a lot of my time doing his body. I was able to get some super straight lines though, and it turned out really good. I also must have read the timer wrong because I had an extra minute of time. I used it to color in the eyes, which is kinda useless, but you know, what else was I gonna do? I'm done with the 30-minute drawing, so now I can finally do the 1-hour drawing, which is going to be Spider-Man, and he's for sure going to be the hardest one to draw. I started by getting down the basic structure of his face, including the eyes, and then I added all of the web patterns, which if you've ever drawn Spider-Man, you know how annoying it is to do that. It just takes forever to get them to look good. I also, again like Bart Simpson, decided to add the rest of his body because I think it'll look a lot better. After I finish the spider logo, I can move on to making all of the lines a little bit cleaner. And now that I'm done with that, I can move on to coloring. And it took absolutely forever to fill in all of the individual areas. Watching it now though, I realized I could just color over all of the lines and I would still be able to see them. Once I did the base layer of color, I went in and did all of the shadows, then immediately moved on to lining. I added a few more highlights and shadows, and then I was done.
Finally.
My goal with these art challenges is to prove that with a bit of time and effort, you can draw under any circumstance. Let me know how you think the drawings turned out, and for another art challenge like this, check out this video.